but he swatted down some of his colleagues' suggestions that the whistleblower's complaint contained little of note. Wallace said, quote, "To dismiss this as a political hack seems to be an effort by the president's defenders to make nothing out of something, and there is something here."
There sure
End
is.
of quote.
There really is this time, folks.
At one point, anchor Sandra Smith challenged Wallace, saying that she did not see a clear offer of quid pro quo, quote, "the exchange of something for value," end of quote, in the rough transcript of Trump's call. Let me again reiterate, there is no transcript. These are notes. There is no transcript. Wallace arched a brow, quote, "You don't think that dirt on Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son would be of value?" End of quote. For all the trouble faced by Trump in the last couple of weeks, Fox Propaganda's viewership has remained high. Last week, Thursday evening, Hannity was seen by more than 4 million live viewers, a rating that Hannity has achieved only a few times this quarter.
Those are
well, I should say the past quarter, because we're now in the fourth quarter.
That's why you'll never reach 70, 80% support for impeachment. Just won't happen. I don't care what he does. But you don't need it.
Because there's idiots out there that this is all they watch.
Yeah.
They don't watch anything else. I don't trust the other networks. You trust these guys? These liars?
You got the maximum amount of support on polls. Between 60, maybe 68, maybe 69. That's it. You don't need it. Go for it. Because if you miss this chance, if you don't score now on this impeachment, it's like Hitler when they tried to blow him up underneath the table and they made a movie about it with Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. You miss this, Katie bar the door.
Yep.
He's out of the chutes, and we're all doomed.
Yep.
You have got to make this one work. You've got to get across the goal line with this impeachment. Right now, he's in a hole. Mm-hmm. This country is in the very early stages, Darren, of impeachment, and Trump is already in a deep hole. He really is. Forget the blarney you hear on these conservative blogs. Yeah. He's in trouble. Impeachment is not going to blow away. It's not. This isn't going to be ignored. This isn't going to disappear like many other Democratic initiatives. Trump can't change the subject by talking about Joe Biden's conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. People are seeing through that. That's got a double-edged sword to it anyway, Darren.
Yeah.
That helps Biden. The more he goes after him irrationally, like a guy in a street fight, the more it helps Biden, who I'm afraid to say is probably his number one, at least in his mind, threat in the race. So he can't keep beating that horse. Trump is in a nightmare of his own making. And the numbers of his impeachment are likely to get worse as the weeks come. Let's ride it to victory, folks. Mm-hmm. Let's not let up on it. Don't listen to the namesayers. Go for broke on this because we don't have another shot.
Yep. And as we've mentioned on this show before, your only shot, our opinion, is Bernie. And isn't it funny? Bernie has a stent put in, and the news media goes absolutely bonkers over this. This is the most they've talked about Bernie Sanders in years.
Exactly.
And it's crazy.
Yeah. Bernie dies.
They won't cover his campaigns where he's having more people at his events than any other candidate. They won't cover that.
No.
They won't cover the fact that he raised more money in the last quarter
over $25
than
million.
Any other Democratic candidate. $25 million, yep. Not one penny of it corporate money.
Yep.
But he has a stent put in. Oh, he needs to drop out of the race. He's too old. Let's just do the numbers here. By the numbers. Joe Biden will be 77 next month. Bernie just turned 78 last month. Warren's 70, Trump's 73. You want to start talking numbers, let's just talk numbers here, folks. Joe Biden's not the savior because he's corporate-owned. None of the other candidates are because they're corporate-owned in one form or fashion. Or they haven't fully enveloped and grasped onto the ideas of progressivism like Sanders has fought for 50 years, folks. As I've said, I'll keep saying it. I'll keep saying it until I'm told to quit saying it. And nobody's going to tell me anything because I own this show. You got to cut the meat to see if it's done. You have to see if you want well done, if you want medium rare. The only way to find out is to cut into the meat And you folks need to do that on these candidates. You need to cut it in the meat. You need to look at their programs. You need to look at what they're offering. You need to look at if they're backing up their words with their actions, because if they're not, the words are empty.
The distinction
and what are you going to
clear.
eat? Are you going to eat empty words?
The distinction is clear. Bernie doesn't have any billionaire donors. Bernie
Correct.
does not have any billionaire donors. That's all you have to understand. Bernie attacks corporations, and then the corporations' media attacks Bernie, like the chick that came out and said that her skin crawled just looking at Bernie, standing next to Warren, because she didn't really know why. She couldn't articulate what there was about Bernie. Bernie has no issues in these people's minds. He has no legacy. While Warren was a Republican, Bernie was being arrested in civil rights movements. So there is no history they dare talk about. They can't handle his initiatives. They can't handle his suggestions, his legislation. They can't handle his record of progressivism. So it's a mysterious skin crawl. She doesn't know what makes her skin crawl. I can tell you what makes her skin crawl. It's the fact that he's a threat to her sugar daddy, corporatism. That's what makes her skin crawl. He's like garlic to a vampire to corporations.
Yep.
They break out in hives.
Mm-hmm. By the way, that was former Assistant U.S. Attorney Mimi Roca who said that on MSNBC a couple weeks ago. Apparently she's one of their paid analysts. So there's that. I want to move on because we've got a couple more items to talk about. We got this. This came to us right before we started recording this week's show. This is by Ariane DeVogue, writing for CNN. She's their Supreme Court reporter. The Supreme Court agreed on Friday to take up an abortion case this term, adding an explosive issue to an already robust docket of controversial issues in the middle of the 2020 presidential election. The justices will consider a Louisiana law that requires doctors to obtain admitting privileges from a nearby hospital. This is the first abortion case that will be argued since Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch joined the bench, solidifying a conservative majority. While the case does not directly challenge Roe v. Wade, supporters of abortion rights are fearful that this is the first of what could be a growing number of opportunities for the new conservative majority to chip away at abortion rights. The Center for Reproductive Rights, representing an abortion clinic and 2 Louisiana physicians, argues that if the law is allowed to go into effect, it will leave, quote, only one doctor to care for every woman seeking an abortion in the state, end of quote. Louisiana argues that the law is necessary to provide a higher level of physician competence. The law, which has been on hold pending appeal, says doctors must have admitting privileges at a hospital within 30 miles of the facility where the abortion is performed. It is nearly identical to a Texas law that the Supreme Court struck down in 2016. Back then, Justice Anthony Kennedy joined with the liberal justices to rule against the law. Chief Justice John Roberts, Justices Clarence Thomas, and Samuel Alito were in dissent. Since that ruling, however, the composition of the court has changed with the addition of Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. The court will likely hear oral arguments early next year. So, folks, this is scary stuff. If you support abortion rights, you better be petrified by what I just read.
Yeah.
Then this is what happens when you elect conservatives to any office. Any office, folks.
This is what happened when the fundamentalist evangelicals have been let loose thanks to Trump.
Oh, exactly.
This is, in their mind, the crusades of the 21st century, is to end abortion.
Yeah.
And they will not be turned away. So I tell people, you want public schools? You better start fighting. You want to keep the abortion, the constitutional right? You better start fighting because they're chipping away at it.
Yep. And here's the thing. This is another of many attempts to throw up something that's going to distract us from what's happening with Trump. As a matter of fact, here's something else that the conservatives are throwing up to distract us from Trump and his alleged crimes. I have this story. This is by Greg Miller, Greg Jaffe, and Karun Demirjian, writing for the Washington Post. This is dated September 28th. Listen to this. Now, let me preface this by saying I am absolutely no fan of Hillary Clinton. But if this isn't a deflection, I don't know what is. Let me read this here. The Trump administration is investigating the email records of dozens of current and former senior State Department officials who sent messages to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email reviving a politically toxic matter that overshadowed the 2016 election, current and former officials said. As many as 130 officials have been contacted in recent weeks by State Department investigators, a list that includes senior officials who reported directly to Clinton, as well as others in lower-level jobs whose emails were at some point relayed to her inbox. Again, that is according to current and former State Department officials. Those targeted were notified that emails they sent years ago have been retroactively classified and now constitute potential security violations, according to letters reviewed by the Washington Post. In virtually all of the cases, potentially sensitive information now recategorized as classified was sent to Clinton's unsecure inbox. State Department investigators began contacting the former officials about 18 months ago after Donald Trump's election and then seemed to drop the effort before picking it up in August, officials said. Gee, when did he make that phone call to Ukraine? Wasn't that July?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Follow the leader, folks. Follow the footprints. Follow the trail. Kimosabe, follow the trail. Senior State Department officials said that they are following standard protocol in an investigation that began during the latter days of the Obama administration and is nearing completion. Oh, so really, they're just following the whatever. A senior State Department official who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about an ongoing probe said, quote, "This has nothing to do with who is in the White House. This is about the time it took to go through millions of emails, which is about 3.5 years." End of quote. Oh, this has nothing to do with who's in the White House. No, I'll just be point blank. The State Department has been politicized by the idiots in the White House, namely Donald John Trump.
Yeah,
I don't think I need to read any more of this
Take your thumb
story.
and do a little research, folks, on Pompeo.
Mm-hmm.
Really, just go back. You'll be amazed.
Yep.
And Barr.
Yep. And I've got one more clip that I want to play. Robert De Niro was on CNN just recently, and he was asked about criticisms from people who watch Fox Propaganda Channel. And he said this on a Sunday morning show. We had to bleep this. Runs 40 seconds. Here you go, folks.
This guy should not be president, period.
And when you say that, folks on Fox come after you. I remember the Tonys when you got up there and cursed. A lot of criticism of you. Okay, well, you know, this is cable, so it's not an FCC violation, but it is still a Sunday morning.
Well,
I do wonder why you choose to go that way.
Let me say something.
Why do you choose to go that way?
We are at a moment in our life, in this country, where this guy is like a gangster. He's come along and he's said things, done things we say over and over again. This is terrible. We're in a terrible situation. We're in a terrible situation, and this guy just keeps going on and on and on without being stopped.
Boy, De Niro had it right, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty simple. De Niro had it right when, I think in 2016, he called Trump a mutt, which is maybe my favorite moniker.
And now that's an insult to mutts. Come on.
Yeah, well...
oh my goodness!
I don't know, something succinct about it.
Yeah,
he's a tough guy, and he doesn't pull any punches. He's not afraid of Trump. That is the warning we give to all people. Don't be afraid of Trump, and don't be intimidated by Trump. Republicans who I think Mitt Romney and Reid got together and they said, "How are we going to bring this guy down?" Mm-hmm. Seriously,
yeah.
And they said, "Well, these guys are afraid. The Republicans are afraid. They're there." If you have a secret vote, they'd vote for his impeachment.
Yep.
They know he's a runaway train of idiocy. They know that. Well, take some fortitude, get a pair, and save our democracy. Are there any Republicans left? I hear reports we're 6 short in a senatorial vote.
Well, we only need 2/3, and we have, 49 Democrats?
Put it together.
Need 18 Republicans.
Put it
and
together,
he's done.
folks. You've got to pull this off, and we need to support the Democrats who are fighting here. I'm a independent. Darren, I don't know.